At 2:11 a.m., I waved at my own bedroom window. The figure inside waved back. I live alone. The street was empty and humming, sodium orange washing the block in a tired glow. I had just parked on the opposite curb because the plows left a wall of gray ice along my side, and I stood there with my keys in my hand and that stupid instinct to wave at movement behind glass. My hand rose. The hand in the window rose too. Not eager. Not mocking. Exact. I felt the drop in my chest before I let my breath out. No one had a spare key. No one had the code. The bedroom light was off. Only the street light and the sliver of the moon caught the glass. The shape was a negative, a cutout darker than dark, shoulders and a tilted head. When I tilted mine, it matched me half a second late, like lag. The Ring app said no motion. Live view failed to connect. My screen reflected my face, small and bluish, with that window tiny above me, a square of black with me inside it. I lowered my phone and lifted both hands as if to say, "Who are you?" The figure lifted both hands too and pressed one palm to the glass. The sound reached me a beat later, 3 soft taps from somewhere deep in the house. Tap, tap, tap. "Marcy," I called without turning because the porch across from mine flicked on. Old Marcy in her robe, pale hair in a bun, squinted at me through the screen door. "You seeing that?" She stepped out a crack, rain slippers whispering. "Why are you waving at your own house, Eli? Somebody's in there." She peered over my shoulder. "Thought you lived alone." "I do." My heart thudded under layers. Coat, cold, fear that felt personal. I tried the Ring again. The app burped a thumbnail. Motion detected at 2:11 a.m. A still frame appeared. Me standing by the door, hand raised to knock. But I hadn't moved. Marcy came down off her porch, stiff as a heron. "You calling the police?" Yeah. I called 911. The Ring sounded filtered, distant, like the line was underwater. While it rang, I looked up. The figure was gone. 911, what's your emergency? There's someone in my house. I can see them in my window. I'm across the street. Address. I gave it. Marcy folded her arms, watching my face more than the house. Thunder muttered beyond the hills, too far to matter. The operator said units were on the way. 15 minutes. 15, I said. "It's a busy night," she said. A click, as if something in the line acknowledged being overheard. Then a second voice threaded through, pitched like mine but warmer. "Stay there," it said. Not the operator. Me. I jerked the phone away. Marcy frowned. "What's wrong?" It sounded like me. I ended the call and instantly my phone buzzed with a text from my own name. From me. The preview said, "Don't wave again." "It's a spoof," Marcy said quickly. Firm the way people get when they're out of their depth. Hackers do that all the time. Hackers don't stand in your window. What's in there worth stealing? My bed, my bookshelf. Nothing. Just all the air I'd called home for a year. The half-sanded banister. The squeaky third stair. The dent in the drywall I never patched. From when Ava slammed the door the last time she was here. Shame rose like heat. Unrelated and exactly related. I put the keys in my pocket to keep from ringing like a bell. The figure reappeared, closer to the glass now. The head tilted the other way. Unnatural stillness wrapped around it like plastic. In my periphery, Marcy lifted her hand and stopped halfway. "Don't," she whispered. I didn't. I drew a breath so slow my ribs creaked. A thin fog coated the inside of the window and cleared in a small circle, as if a mouth was there. I couldn't see teeth. I could see breath. My phone buzzed again. "Still me. If you cross now, it won't move. Promise." "Who are you?" I said out loud to no one, to the Boolean space between me and the pane 3 houses and 1 life away. The answer was a small shift of shadow that implied a smile without the decency of showing one. I stepped off the curb. The street felt too wide. Tires hissed on a parallel road 2 blocks over. A distant train horn sighed. My shoes touched the double yellow, paint scabbed and cold. The house didn't blink. The figure's head tracked me like a camera. "Eli." Marcy's voice was a damp breath against my shoulder. "Don't be stupid. Stay on with 911, I said without looking back. They hung up on you, she whispered. I looked at my phone. The call was still active. Timer running. No one talking. My own name glowed at the top like a dare. When I put it to my ear, I heard breathing. Mine, not mine. A match of cadence but too slow, like an actor counting between numbers. The front gate squealed when I opened it. In the bedroom window the palm lifted, 5 smudged ovals in the glass. The porch boards remembered me and groaned. The front door gleamed dumbly, paint a color I had chosen to be happy in. I held the key to the deadbolt, and in the instant the metal touched the lock, the bolt slid back by itself from the inside. A dry click behind wood. I froze, key against brass. The knob turned a fraction as if offered to me. I stepped back. The window upstairs was empty again. Marcy's porch light blinked twice and went steady. Her shadow moved across her lawn, small and thin. I'm calling Ben, she said. He's awake. He's got a bat. Don't, I said. I didn't want Ben. I didn't want anything that would make this loud. I wanted the opposite. I wanted the sense that my house would be embarrassed, cough, and spit the prank out. I cracked the door. Cool, stale air touched my face. The furnace was off. The light switch in the entry gave me that rubbery, useless feeling. Nothing. I lifted my phone to be a flashlight. My living room the way I left it. Throw blanket wrinkled on the couch, mug on the table, a smear of ring where it sweated. The frame with my parents on the bookshelf, crooked. My breath jittered the light. Far above, a soft sound. Fabric brushing fabric, deliberate and near the bedroom. Another tap, much softer than from the street. Tap, tap, tap. Don't go in, Marcy hissed from outside. Little voice big in the hush. I set my keys on the entry table. The habit felt obscene. I angled the phone up the stairs. My stairs do that C-turn 7 steps to the landing, for more up. The third step murmured the way I remembered and I thought stupidly that I should have warned whoever was up there. I know every noise, I said to make my mouth mean something. You can't sneak. The hallway at the top ended at my bedroom door. Closed. A pale line under it like a scar. My tongue felt huge and dry. I expected the knob to turn because I can't stop myself from expecting things to move before they do. Horror, I was learning, lives in that space. A shape appeared at the end of the hall. My heart spiked. My light shook and found only the mirror I hung at an angle to make the hall feel longer. I saw myself. Gray coat, jaw clenched, phone held out like a talisman. Behind me, at the far end of the reflection, in the entry below, the front door was still ajar, a fingernail of the night in the gap. Something darker than the dark stood just beyond it in the mirror's far field. Not a trick of light. Tall. No face. When I turned to look at the actual door behind me, there was nothing. In the reflection, it didn't leave. I took the final step onto the landing. The bedroom knob twitched. I watched it without breathing. Turned an inch, stopped, then turned back, like someone testing either side of a coin. A slow slick of dread traveled my skin. I put my ear to the door because when fear gets too big you get primitive and dumb. I heard a breath that wasn't mine, and the faintest scrape of a nail on painted wood. Writing letters I couldn't see. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. Marcy? Ben? The police? I didn't look. I put my hand on the knob. On the last exhale I had left, I turned it and pushed. The window on the far wall reflected the street's orange hum. The bed was empty. The closet doors were shut. The curtains shifted like they remembered being touched. And in the middle of the room, upright on my carpet, sat my own phone. Black screen up, the haptic whisper of a still active call tremoring against the floorboards. I looked at the phone in my hand. Call in progress. 2217. A whisper at my ear. Perfect. Airless. Close the door. I swung around. Light knifing across bare walls. No one there. The whisper again, but now from the phone on the floor. Tinny. A recording of a room I was in. My own voice in it. Delayed. Saying, don't wave again. I knelt. The screen of the phone on the floor brightened under my touch. The call title said, me. The closet door behind me ticked. I didn't see it move. I saw the shadow widen on the carpet, spilling past my shoes like oil. I stood so fast the blood left me buzzing. The knob on the closet turned a fraction and stopped, as if whatever was on the other side was learning how hands work. Behind me, very quietly, the bedroom door clicked shut. I didn't turn around. The knob breathed under its metal skin, like it had lungs. The closet's sliver widened. Wood whispered. A dry hanger swung and tapped another. Tap, tap, tap. The phone on the carpet shivered with the heartbeat of the open call. In my hand, the other phone blinked and threw my face back at me. Gaunt, jaw locked, light shaking. Marcy, I tried, knowing she couldn't hear through what the house had made of silence. From the hall, the mirror caught my shoulder, my ear, that anxious blood in my neck. Far in its depth, downstairs, the front door eased the last inch and settled with a felted kiss. No wind, no hands I could claim. I took a step to the window and pulled the curtain aside with 2 fingers. Across the street, Marcy stood on her porch with Ben beside her, his bat slack at his thigh. They were perfectly still, as if a photograph had been dropped onto the night. The streetlight flickered and hummed and stayed. When I lifted my phone to signal them, my screen woke to a notification from no one. Live view requested. The accept button pulsed. My thumb hovered. I did nothing. The pulsing continued, patient. The closet gave a slow breath back. Something fabric dragged over wooden framing. I angled the light. Between the hanging shirts, a black mouth had been cut into the back of the closet. Edges notched, drywall flaking. Cold air leaked out, damp and sweet like old leaves. On the studs, something had been written in pencil, short lines stacked like tally marks. Beside them, letters, me. Then again, lower, me. Each smaller, each pressed harder, the last one carved to wood. You've been here, I whispered, and hated how my mouth made it sound like a thank you. A voice from the phone on the floor said, "Don't." It was mine, thinner, recorded through a membrane. "Don't talk to it like it's a person." My scalp tightened until it felt stitched to bone. "Ava," I said, because the voice had a shadow of hers behind mine. A breath pattern I knew, a tiny catch before the T. Static for a beat. Then her, so close my eyes watered. "Eli," she said, very soft, like she was kneeling where I was kneeling now. "You waved back." "I didn't," I said, automatic, wrong. "I thought." The phone hissed in a way that meant she had turned to put her hand over the mic. "It learns," she said into the bruise of air. "It learned me by the end. That's why I left." "Where are you?" My voice broke on the last word. Something in the dark smiled again. "Don't ask it for proof," she said, fierce and small. "Don't give it your yes or your no. Get to a window. Get out." The hanger clicked against its neighbor again, closer now. I could smell damp hair. I didn't remember ever hanging anything that smelled like that. Behind me, the bedroom door handle turned a fraction and stopped. Another hand outside, testing mine from the other side. "Police!" A man's voice called, muffled by wood and heat. "Eli? You here?" I lunged and yanked. The door did not care. "Up here," I shouted. "Bedroom. Copy," the man said, and Boots took the stairs, soft, respectful, good men in my breaking house. The handle turned, this time with authority. It turned the right way and then the wrong way as if the lock had grown new teeth. "Sir? You alone?" "Yes," I yelled. "No. There's..." My phone in my hand buzzed once. A text from me. "Let me handle it." Through the wood I heard my voice answer, a calm, practiced version of me. "I'm fine," it told the cops. False alarm. Stress. "I'm going to bed." The room leaned. I put my palm flat to the door. Felt like the back of a warm animal. "No," I said, but I said it to the phone and to the closet and to the mirror, not to anyone I could help. Boots shifted. Paper rustled. A radio scratched and cleared its throat. "You sure?" Another man asked, very human and close. "Positive," my voice said through my door. "Thank you for coming." The boots went back down, light with professional relief. The front door opened and closed. The house returned to the breath it had agreed upon. Ava's whisper found me again through the carpet phone. You're not alone. The gap in the closet widened another inch. In the new space was an object I'd lost months ago. My old lanyard, bent metal clip, spare key still attached. It slid forward, nudged by a palm I couldn't see, like an offering or a promise. How long have you been here? I said, then clamped my teeth. The answer was not words. It was timing. A hand came up into the light, my hand, wrong by a decade of splinters, and pressed its palm flat to the floorboards. The skin shone with a damp sheen that smelled like the inside of a paper bag left in rain. A second hand followed, lighter, the nails chewed to half moons. It raised one finger, then two, then all five, an unpracticed wave. I didn't lift mine. I kept both hands at my sides until my nails bit skin. The hand waved anyway. My phone facelit with a new feed, unasked. It showed me from above, like a camera was in the corner of the ceiling, a view I had never owned. In the feed, I stood too still, my shoulders squared wrong, my head tilted a touch off. Then, in the same frame, from the closet space, a second me eased into the room behind me, eyes on the meat of my neck. I turned. Empty air. The feed kept going. Both of me in it. I dropped the phone. It didn't crack. It bounced once, twice, and landed face up, the little red rec badge burning at the edge like a conscience. The time in the corner said 2:11. It said it no matter what time it was. Across the street, behind glass, my first self still stood on the curb beside my car, hand halfway up, forever not waving or forever starting to. Marcy still watched me through her screen. Ben's bat never fell. Eli, Ava said, listen to me. Keeps one of you. It sends one to tell the police there's nothing wrong. It needs a person in the window. What happens if I don't choose? I said, though choice had left the building minutes ago. The second hand withdrew into the dark. A fingernail clicked the face of my fallen phone like a beetle. My other phone, the one on the carpet, breathed. The call timer rolled over. The voice that had been mine said, without breath, close the door. I didn't. I went for the window, fingers under the frame, shoulder into paint. It held. It held because I had painted it too carefully last summer, humming with a stupid happiness in light I did not deserve. I drove the lamp base into the latch and felt the varnish shear. The closet exhaled a thickness of wet air that tasted like a basement 12 houses away. From the hall mirror, where my back reflected a back that did not turn when I turned, someone came into the edge of the frame. He wore my coat. He held my keys. He lifted his hand in that calm, neighborhood wave I gave strangers who passed with their dogs. The smile he wore had not learned the corners. He turned his head a beat too late. I gripped the window and shoved until Wood screamed and gave a half-inch. Cold leaked around my wrist. The figure in the mirror took a step closer. The me in the ceiling feed tilted his head the wrong way and waited for me to move so he could. Ava said, pick one. Pick. My voice scraped. You or you, she whispered. One of you stays. I'm not leaving you in there, I said, and hated the grammar of it, because both pronouns were mine. A small arm emerged from the closet then. Slender, pale, unfamiliar. A child's? It groped along the floorboards and found the old lanyard and drew it back. The arm's skin bore ink like tally marks, as if days had been notched into it and then into someone else. A shape shifted deeper. The breath that came now was many breaths stacked. Who else is there? I asked before I could close my teeth on it. The answer was the smell of long hair dried in a towel, the musk of men's soap, the copper idea of coins. A rhythm started, not in footsteps, but in the strike of nails on wood in a patient pattern. 3 taps. A pause. 3 more. The lamp slipped in my wet hand. The window moved another inch. Air slapped my cheek. The street outside blinked, not with lightning, but with a subtle smear, like a frame missing from film. The static taste of electronics sat on my tongue. My fallen phone chirped as if a Bluetooth device had entered range. It offered to pair with me. The bedroom door latch gave under an outside hand. It eased inward, silent. In the gap stood my other self, the hall version, the one the police had met. Up close I could see the seam where time didn't quite meet itself at his hairline. He was gentle. He set my keys on my dresser like he was home. "It's late," he said, soft. "Come to bed." I thought of the dent in the drywall. I thought of the empty side of the mattress. I thought of the night I lay awake and watched a shadow under the door shift to the rhythm of someone breathing and told myself it was the furnace. I raised the lamp between us. "It learns," Ava said, very far away, very near. "By the time you notice, it knows what you'll do." The other me didn't flinch at the lamp. He nodded, almost relieved. He stepped aside, giving me a clear path to the hall as if he were a courteous host. Beyond him, the mirror showed me and not me, and between us the closet mouth in the wall, open like a second door to a second street. I shoved the window with everything I had. It yelped open 4 inches. Cold screamed in. I crammed my fingers under, lifted, swore, begged wood for mercy. The frame leaped another 2. Behind me, both phones vibrated in unison, like a heart finding a second beat. The closet set its hands on the threshold. The floor sighed with the weight of a body finding purchase. "Marcy!" I yelled out the open slit. Her stillness across the street cracked. Her head turned a centimeter, slow enough to draw tears. Her mouth worked. Her porch light blinked twice. She raised her hand and, after just a fraction too long, waved. The house didn't need me anymore. I stopped. The realization hurt my teeth. I turned back. The other me smiled, finally correct. The thing in the closet lifted its face into my light. It was mine with the depth map missing, flat and eager and starving for place. It watched my throat when I swallowed. The little arm touched my ankle just above the sock, light as lint, proprietary. A final buzz. A new video appeared on my phone without asking. It opened by itself. The image was my bedroom from the angle of the closet, steady as a mounted camera. The timestamp in the corner said 2:11, then 2:12, then 2:13, marching forward. In the frame, I stood at the window. Behind me, in the closet, a dozen faces pressed close, pale, patient, no features except the idea of mine, all waiting for the same motion. On screen, I lifted my hand to wave. In the real room, without meaning to, I did too. The faces in the dark didn't wait.